stuff that, like the Sam and Max kind of stuff, the adventure stuff, or what?
All of it.
Yeah, I guess my answer is yes. I like games where there are no cutscenes and I'm just constantly playing actively, and I'm trying to think of games where there are lots of cutscenes. Depends on the game. Like Max Payne was like watching a movie, to the point where I was almost wishing that was a movie because I loved it, and I want to watch this movie, and every now and then I'd shoot some people on the way to the next cutscene. Then there's stuff like Metal Gear 4, the PlayStation one, where I'm just kind of like, stop talking to me. Stop talking to me, game. Let me just, it's like 10 minutes of just half-assed philosophy and frying an egg, I'm just like, I want to sneak around and just hurt people. I couldn't stand it. That's where I gave up on Metal Gear after that game. I loved the PS2 ones. Oh, it was crazy for them, but they just keep getting less and less gamey. Makes me mad.
Okay, over here.
What did you enjoy more, working on comics like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or working on Invader Zim?
They both have their, ups and downs. Like working on comics is kind of agony. You don't have a life. You just are in your house drawing comics, and then you're done, and you realize everyone is gone to sleep. But everything is yours. It's all yours. You're limited only by how good or bad you are, and you get better as you go along. In animation, you're working with a lot of people. Some of them work out, some of them don't. You make friends, talented friends that you would want to work with again, and some that you're just kind of like, I hope you die. It's a lot of different, working in animation is obviously a much bigger deal. It's, a lot more people sort of watching over your shoulder or counting on you, so it's a lot of pressure, stressful. But if you like what you're doing, it's worth it. If you don't, you're just like, wow, I live like this. Like I haven't worked in animation since, just because it's like whoever I'm working with and the project I'm working on, the people have to know that I do a certain thing, and I have to know that I'm going to be able to do a certain thing in a certain way. Otherwise, it's just not worth it. I mean, yeah, it's like a good living, but it's also your life, and it's nice to be happy. You're doing things that you'd like to do, so it's rare. It's rare to find a pairing that works. People that are producing it and the project that makes it worth all of the horror, which there always is. There's always like really horrible things. So that's my inspiring speech for today.
All right.
Have you played Legend of Zelda?
Have I played Legend of Zelda? I started with the Super NES. I didn't play the originals. I started with Link to the Past. And have played them since. Although Skyward Sword was the first one that I skipped on. I'm tired of saving that stupid princess. I'm so sick of playing the same game over. I've lived long enough to, I've gotten to the point where, I started gaming with, the Atari 2600. So I've been through a lot of games, and I've been through a lot of Nintendo going, here's this game again. And I think Nintendo does amazing things, but I love, when Pikmin came out, I was like, oh my god, they did something new, and I was like, I love Pikmin. But people, Pikmin, I want to see new things. And even though that the Zelda games go new places, it's the same game. It's like, I gotta save this princess again. Oh look, I can shot. I'm bored of going to the same places. But if you were to do something people went nuts when Wind Waker looked the way it did. They're like, this doesn't look like what I demand. Everything big and everything big. It's the same thing over and over again. They were like, why does it look cartoony? I thought it was one of the coolest looking Zelda games. No, I thought it was great, and then they went back to the sort of more realistic stuff for, what was it when Twilight Princess, and by Twilight Princess, that's when I was going, I think I've done this before. I think I'm getting ready to, and then Skyward Sword happened, and I'm like, I'm done. I have no reason to play it. I I want to see new things. You know, the old school, like new Super Mario Brothers, those games do so much better than games like Mario Galaxy. Because people are like, I've played this, therefore I'm going to get it again. It's just how people work. They really they just love. I blame people for how horrible everything is. That's my inspiring statement today.
Over here.
I have a question. I was wondering if you would ever bring to life in animation Johnny the Homicidal Maniac.
We'll talk about that later, maybe. Oh, shut up, come on. It's a thing that I've thought about and thinking about and possibly working on. With Ben. Everyone stare at Ben and say, make it happen quickly. So yes, maybe, possibly, I don't know, I can't tell you.
Over here.
What would you say to anyone who's trying to put their own ideas? What's the most important thing someone should focus on when they're talking about like their own unique, distinct style, whether it's like narrative or gameplay or graphic novels?
What they should talk about? Well, what do you mean? How they should present their
What
idea?
should anyone who's aspiring to like a creative field really focus on? Like,
I'm the worst person to ask that question to, because, I mean, there's what I believe people, I mean, you heard me rant about Zelda, but look at what does well, you know? Well, like things that you might think, that I might think are the least imaginative, safest way to go, have such long legs, and you can live a lifetime just making the most uninspired stuff in the world. So in a way, I could tell people, your best bet is to just do what you've seen before and just maybe change the names. And people will be like, whoa, it's amazing, because that's just what's out there. And for the most part, it's always been that way. I don't think things have gotten better or worse. There's always your mess of samey stuff, and then there's the occasional thing that pops up and hopefully does well, you know? I think it's cool that Zen didn't do well, but in a way, it did better than something that was kind of generic and just stayed on the air forever. Because look at these people, they still care, you know? There's a lot of things that people watch that they're like, oh, let's put this on. Even I do that. I'm like, I know this place, I know these characters, I'll put it on, but I don't care. So basically, I guess what I'm telling you is just don't try. You can though. You might do well doing the most. I don't know what your idea is. It could be the worst thing in the world, and it might do great. There's no telling. That's what's psychotic about like thinking that you know what's going to be successful. Whether you're an executive or someone who has an idea that they think is going to do well, you don't know. You don't know. It's like it's psychotic. It's genuinely psychotic what will work or what won't work and why. So hopefully you have something that's great and you present it in a way that's different and unusual while still making it relatable to people who are going to be putting money into it. That's the dream. But you don't know. It's terrifying.
Okay,
That's why I
last
just
question.
stay home.
Last question, and then we're at 10 minutes.
So is there a reason that so many of the school children have weird deformities?
You know, I've never consciously thought about it, but yes, many of the kids at school are grotesquely deformed. Like, maybe the school was built over like a toxic dump site or something.